Hey guys, Mila Clark-Buckley, the Hangry Woman here, and today I want to talk about tips about how to survive diabetes burnout. Hopefully they're tips that can help you honestly survive any kind of burnout, any type of like fatigue or just like doneness that you feel. I think that these are all very basic, but sometimes we need a kind reminder of how to just give ourselves a moment of self-care. And so hopefully this is that. If you're new here, I make videos about diabetes, so diabetes lifestyle, diabetes cooking, diabetes stigma, all the kinds of things about diabetes that you could possibly think of. So hopefully you find some value from my channel, and hopefully I can give you some tips that you've never heard before. People say that I do that, and it always makes me really happy. So if you are into that kind of stuff and you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really just helps build that community of people with diabetes who want to talk about it and who want to feel less ashamed or want to just learn more about the illness that they're living with. So hopefully you like that kind of stuff and you will give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. But let's hop into it and just talk about some of the tips that I have for battling diabetes burnout. The first thing seems extremely obvious, but it's to take some time for yourself. So take a time out, do some yoga, meditate, ride your Peloton like I do, go for a run or a walk. Do something for yourself that's going to get you away from screens, away from having to think about anything, and just take some time to chill. I think when we all had to start working from home because of COVID and we had to start like being in our houses a lot more often, we couldn't just like go to the office. We kind of started to realize this feeling of burnout, like feeling like you're doing the same things over and over and over. You're not getting you're not getting the same result by doing the same things over and over. And then also just like being at home all the time with everybody who lives in your house, like that's really difficult. That's really hard. And so sometimes you need that time out for yourself. And whether you just carve out 5 minutes and you tell everybody to leave you alone and you go do something that you enjoy and you go do something that is really helpful to you, that's always a great moment to take a time out. Set a timer, put it on your calendar. I do that. I have like a little meditation block on my calendar. It's just 5 minutes. It's for me to get up from my desk, walk around my house or go outside, get some fresh air. And those kinds of things really help to combat burnout. I think burnout occurs typically when you are just going 1,000 miles an hour and you're not stopping. And then all of a sudden you get to this point where you're just exhausted and you're done. And so sometimes when you take those mini breaks, those like mini rest periods in between, that can help you a lot in terms of getting that time you need for time for yourself. My next tip is to eat well-balanced meals and do not skip meals. So if that means that you have to meal prep ahead of time, that's something that my husband and I have just started doing. We're notoriously terrible at making breakfast in the morning because we both wake up like right when we need to wake up for work. So what both of us have been doing is meal prepping. I've been making like Egg McMuffin sandwiches in bulk and then sticking them in the freezer, and then he can grab one, I can grab one, or we can choose to have oatmeal or tea or coffee or whatever we choose to have that day. But being able to eat a balanced meal at every meal, if you possibly can, that's going to really help you feel fueled for the day. It's going to help you have a lot of energy, and you're also not going to be worrying about like your blood sugar swinging all over the place. And so like the more that you can do up front to kind of keep your meals balanced, the less you'll have to worry about blood sugar, even though the food is just one factor of what your blood sugars look like, but it's like a good factor to pay attention to. And if that's something that you can do in the background, then it's not something that you have to worry about later, and you don't have to feel like this like burnout cycle. So plan ahead. I take an iPhone note and I just write down all my meal ideas for the week. And then I kind of organize it and organize my grocery list around that. And then I shop on Sundays. I do a little bit of meal prep on Sunday and Monday, and then we're set up for the rest of the week. So carve out the time to do that. And that can help you just like not have to think about it during the week and kind of take it off your plate. My third tip is to get enough sleep. So that also sounds like one of those things that's like, duh, Mila, okay, easier said than done. But take some time to wind down before bed. So whether, again, maybe that's your meditation time, it's like right before bed to like get off your phone, turn off your TV, turn out the lights, get some quiet time, kind of like wind down. That can really help in terms of just helping you feel rested and helping you feel less burnout. It's hard to do that sometimes. Like, I know that I use a CGM, Freestyle Libre 2, have it on my arm. It has alarms on it, and I set it to have both high and low alarms. So whenever my blood sugar is high in the middle of the night or low in the middle of the night, I get a buzzing on my nightstand, and that can wake me up a few times a night if my blood sugars don't stabilize. So I know that that's like easier said than done to get sleep, but just like try and get some rest where you can and try and relax where you can so that you do have a little bit of that restfulness, and that can help to kind of carry you through the day. My next tip is to accept that you can't control everything and just do your best. So when you feel like you have your hands in everything, and especially with diabetes, like we are hypersensitive to what's going on with our bodies. So we're checking meters that tell us our numbers in real time. We're getting notifications, we're getting alarms, we're getting bells, we're getting text messages from our family members who are connected to our devices asking us, what's wrong? Are you okay? You know, in addition to just the lives that we live and the normalcy of like what a buzzy life looks like, with people texting you and calling you and emails and pings all over the place. And so one of the things that I like to remind myself of is like, I can't control everything. And like, sometimes I'm just going to have a bad day and I just need to go with the flow. And as long as those bad days don't happen commonly and like all the time, which they can in a state of burnout, like those days can feel just like the most awful days. But I think that it's really important to just recognize that like you can take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and bad days are going to happen, and just accept the fact that you cannot control every single little thing. You can only control what you can control. Sometimes it's not even your blood sugar. So like sit with that and understand that, and use that as like a positive talking point to yourself. Like, I know I can't control everything, but I'm doing my best. And as long as you know that you're doing your best, and even if you're not doing your best, even if you're like, I can't control anything and I'm not doing my best right now because I'm burnt out and I'm tired and I don't want to do everything, acknowledging those feelings is okay, and recognizing that you can't do every single thing is also okay. And that's going to take some of the stress and the pressure off of you to like achieve perfection, because none of us are perfect. Like, those straight lines that you see in people's CGMs, like it happens for me every once in a while, but like for the most part, I am like pew, 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 up and down everywhere. And like, I am okay with that. Like, it's, you know, I'm checking on my health at a regular cadence, and I'm like talking with my doctors and working really closely with them. And so unless they are like, this is a huge problem for you, I just try not to worry about it. And I think that, you know, go with the flow kind of helps in that situation. My next tip is to learn what triggers your anxiety and have a plan for how to deal with that. A lot of times burnout occurs in a state that you don't recognize until you've gotten so far along. So I think it's really important to recognize those areas where you're feeling that anxiety, you're feeling that burnout, and then acknowledge those feelings and what that is, but then know in the back of your mind, like, when I feel like this is what I do. So when I feel anxious and nervous and I feel burnt out, I turn off all my devices, I take a day off, and I go on with my life until I feel a little bit better. So things like that can help you. And that's just like one example. It could be when I feel like I'm burned out, I will turn off my alarms for my pump and my CGM. And I'll just like take a moment to myself to like reground myself or recenter. Or when I feel anxious and nervous and burnt out, I tell my spouse and I tell them how I'm feeling, and I ask them for help with something around the house that I just feel like I can't do. Like finding ways to cope with that feeling of burnout is, I think, really important, and it can always give you a roadmap of what to do when you feel that way so you don't feel like helpless and hopeless. And my last tip is to talk to someone. So when you're feeling those feelings of burnout, really the first people that you should talk to are your physician or a therapist or a specialist that you're seeing, and give them an idea of how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, how long you've been feeling that way, and ask for coping tools and ways to help you. I think you can also talk to your friends and family if you're feeling this feeling of burnout. Like, don't feel like you have to hide it and you have to swallow it and you have to be the only one that deals with it. If you can tell somebody, or you have somebody that you have confidence in that you feel like you could talk to about it, that's always great, because then you can get those feelings out and they can be helpful in either directing you to talk to somebody who's a professional and can be a better help to you, or they can comfort you in that moment and say, like, I understand where you're coming from. I understand how you're feeling. And if they're like a great companion, they might ask, what can I do to help you? And that kind of goes back to that last point, is like, you may have somebody in your corner that can help take some of that stress and that pressure off, because as we all know, diabetes is 24/7, 365. None of us ask for this, but once we've got it, we've got it, and we have to do everything that we can to manage it. And that means like being just like on all the time, and that can cause those feelings of burnout. And when you get to that state of burnout, like sometimes it just feels like there's no pulling yourself back out of it. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that burnout happens commonly. It happens to everyone. We all get to that point where we just don't care. I've gone like a week without checking my blood sugar, which is awful. It's not something that I should do. I go based on feeling, and I'm like, whatever. I don't feel like looking at a graph or a chart this week. I can't do it. I've only done that once after I learned how dangerous it was. I decided never to do that again, but to kind of just like force myself to check less, just check at meal times instead of checking like, 20 times throughout the day or whatever. But I've had those moments of burnout where I've just been like, screw everything. Like, I'm not doing this anymore, and I don't want to do this, and I can't, and I'm tired, and I just like have no more energy left to even deal with this. And I think I wish I had had some of these coping tools when I had gotten to that point and known like, okay, I can talk to somebody if I'm feeling like this, or I can call my doctor and say like, I am not having a good time right now. Like, here's where I'm at. Is there something that I can do? Or just talking to my husband and saying like, I need help. Like, I need you to do the dishes tonight because like, I just am having a really overwhelming day and I can't do it. I think a lot of those things would have helped me cope, rather than taking the step back from my diabetes management and then not taking as much care of myself as I should have. So all that to say that I hope that these coping tools help you. I hope that some of these tools, they may be things that you already knew. They may be things that you have implemented into your own life, but hopefully it's just a good reminder that like, you have people that are there for you, but you also can be there for yourself and treat yourself with like love and kindness, and ensure that you are doing the best that you can and having, the best care of yourself that you can, and that burnout doesn't drag you down into that like black hole that feels like you're never going to get out. So I just hope that these tools were helpful for you today. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting my channel. Like I said before, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to hit the subscribe button so that I can see you later in the comments. If you have more tips about how to just like deal with diabetes, burnout, or burnout in general, like something that you do that really helps you, leave it in the comments down below. I would love everybody to see it, just because it is always a helpful tool. People read the comments all the time, and it's really nice to be able to read the comments and see some other tips that people have in there. And you guys all the time have way better ideas than I have. So I love just hearing what you have to say about stuff like that. But that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.